I have to say, I love Vinland Saga. It's been a goddamn pleasure to be able to come up here and review. It's one of the most enjoyable shows I've watched in quite some time, one of the most fun I've had just reviewing a series, and just so everyone knows, I do have a big Vinland Saga video going up next Sunday, so if you enjoyed the reviews, be sure to check back to the channel next Sunday, because it's one of my favorite videos I made all year. But in terms of episode 24, last week I kind of went over my thoughts and where I thought this prologue could end, and one of the things I hit on was Askeladd dying, because he's not really the character to give up on Wales, give up on his mother, but I also didn't take into consideration that because he picked someone so perfect to be king, that he could not only kill the person in charge, save his homeland while also falling on the sword so the succession could happen. That's like the optimal way to not only end his story, but also allow Thorfinn to actually start progressing in a different direction. I mean, we get a glimpse of his character design at the end of the episode when they're kind of flashing, I assume teasing where Season 2 eventually goes, or at least it looked like him traveling, but before he travels, I'm sure he's going to get punished, as you don't be able to attack the prince/king and be able to just walk away. That's why Askeladd himself had to get stabbed, right? But still, they just concluded this prologue in some of the best ways I've seen, and I might even go as far to say this might be the best prologue in a story ever. It was epic, it felt like a main story in itself, and it was just the starting point for this anime, and that's totally fantastic. I think the whole idea of the king trying to persuade Askeladd by saying, hey, give me my kid's head and I won't even touch Wales. I don't even care about Wales. But should you not, Wales is going to burn. The idea, it kind of represents why this king got to where he is, because the will of man is so easily manipulated that people can be bribed, bought and sold. However, you can't buy a slave. That's the entire point. Once a slave is free from the chains that once held him down, there is no offer that you will be able to buy him off with. Like, even though he was selling himself as this mercenary for so long, now that he finally found someone that he believes in and trusts in, he will fall on the sword for them. It goes to show how this man was able to lead for so long, got as old and frail as he did, because he surrounded himself by great advisors. He was able to manipulate the will of man for so long, but because he tried to do the one thing that he's always been able to do to others, he got up close and personal, because usually you can buy them off, you can threaten them, because no one would draw a blade and cut off the king's head in front of a crowd of people because they wouldn't want to get killed. But someone like Askeladd, he doesn't care about his life as long as he knows his country will be safe and his king will also be safe. Like, didn't expect this to end in such a beautiful way, because him dying kind of felt like the only way it could go in a lot of ways, but I felt like if he died, there'd be hostility from, like, Thorfinn, or there'd be hostility for, like, Canute. And yeah, there's obviously hostility from Thorfinn because his world just shattered, and it's going to take him years probably to recover from what happened, but that was kind of to be expected. But I thought, should the king get killed, or, Askeladd did something that went against the prince's orders, the prince would hate Askeladd, but rather, the whole, just watching that unfold as he acted like a mad dog just slashing and dicing, it was so interesting to see how he recognized what he was doing was all for him, that he's the type of person who would follow his orders to a T, but he also has his own honor that he recognized, so he was fine with what Askeladd was doing, but because of what, Thorkill was saying, he recognized that he has to be the one to stab his father's killer in order to truly take the throne. That was so beautiful. I thought I was really going to be heartbroken by Askeladd when he did die, but I surprisingly felt at peace the same way he did. Askeladd has been fighting to find something for so long, and the fact that he was able to not only die for his king, but also be able to rest in peace knowing that his country would be safe, is like the perfect way to conclude his amazing journey. And the fact that Thorfinn didn't stab him in his final moments is amazing, because this is what he needs. He needs to think, he needs to dwell on basically the words that were spoken to him last episode, but also the words that were spoken to him by the man he hated all his life in his final moments. It actually mirrored Thor's in a lot of ways, and these two were not a father and son. These two were not friends, but when you spend a decade together, you naturally are going to have a connection of some sort. And the fact that it's going to be something that's finally going to let him be able to move on with his life, the fact that his father's killer told him to move on, and whatever his punishment may be, once that is over, he might finally be able to find something in his life past just killing. So many people ripped into Thorfinn because he was an angry boy, but what else could he be? He was traveling with killers ever since he was a child, but now that he's an adult, having his world shattered, maybe he can finally start progressing into a different direction. And like, that's the beauty of Vinland Saga, is that the reason it's exciting has never been for action. The action has just been like the icing on the cake. Like, maybe the cherry on top would be the better way to describe it. Like, the reason seeing Askeladd just mow down people, it wasn't because, ooh, look at the cool action. It was because of the story being told there. He was playing a part, playing the villain, saying, I'm going to be king, I'm going to do this. And watching all the characters' reactions, be it a soldier to just the general bystander, to of course their central characters recognizing what his sacrifice really was there. That's why it's exciting. That's why whatever direction they want to go with season 2, like when we get it, it's already been rumored that it's in the pipeline for production, but don't expect it next year based on what's kind of cycle already. I imagine we'll get it in probably 2021, but still, like, it just feels like this is a story that has so many possibilities, and I like the idea that the mangaka, they don't like extend it like for 20 arcs, but rather I think it's like 4 arcs that's gonna happen, like the prologue and then 3 main arcs. I think it just entered in its final arc. So it's just like really cool to see the idea of how epic and grand this story is for only having a few arcs. But that's kind of what you would expect for like a historical epic. Something that has like a prologue that can last 24 episodes because, you know, a section of time in someone's life in this world should take a long period of time. It shouldn't just speed by in 3 episodes and then we get to our next arc, we speed by that in 6 episodes. It's like, no, that makes the arcs feel unfulfilling, but having them feel epic as if it's its own journey and war in a way is like the perfect way to direct and structure this amazing story. Like, everything about this episode was emotional, and to be able to just see the slash that happened, I was not expecting that. I expected when he drew his sword, he would get stabbed in the back, but I just love how the king, someone who survived all these years, truly thought that he would be able to buy off this man, you know, attack him, because that would mean death. And for so many people, a majority of the people in a world, they wouldn't want to kill themselves for another. But the fact that he did, like, it just represents why he was the perfect advisor for Canute. And, you know, wherever his character goes now in the future, I think in a lot of ways, Canute's character is the one I'm most fascinated in. Because in the world of Vinland Saga, you can't survive by not getting your hands bloody. And he had to get his hands bloody in a way that he definitely never wanted to. And to just see how he's going to command his troops in the future and how the story could evolve, like, it's going to be so interesting to watch the politics unfold, especially with whatever Thorfinn is now going to do in his future and how he's going to find meaning in life, not just searching for death, but maybe searching for Vinland itself. I just love this anime so much. It just felt like there was always so much being told, and it never felt like one character was more important than the other, but rather this world was a story, and whoever we focused in on was always going to be able to take the reins and be able to control the narrative in a compelling direction. It just felt like everything that this episode needed to do to end the prologue, it did so with grace. Like, Vinland Saga and Studio Wit, once again, just taking a material that they clearly love, extended it, rearranging it, making it feel like it could be the best it could be in the medium that is anime, and I just love everything about this. Askeladd is easily one of my favorite characters of all time, and even though he did go out, it felt like he went out at the right time, not dragging his character just so he could continue to be a part of the story, but rather letting his arc conclude in a satisfying and fulfilling way while setting in motion both Canute as well as Thorfinn in their future, just in completely opposite directions, because now one's a king and now one's probably going to get his ass beat for trying to kill a king, even though, you know, they are technically friends in their own way. Like, this was an amazing journey, and I can't wait to see when we get that season 2, what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, and how it's going to be functioning, because whatever they do, I know I'm going to love it. The production in this show has been so spectacular, and like a lot of times when people complimented the production for Vinland Saga, they kind of went into like the animation. They'll think of like Thorkill swinging a log towards Thorfinn or something like that. But goddamn, the sound production might have been my favorite part of this anime. Like, the voice actors brought their AAA game here. I mean, when you have Askeladd, someone just raging and just acting either like a wild beast or just, you know, a fierce political leader, you always bought into his performances. But it was as if every character was like perfectly casted. From King Swain to Canute to Thorfinn, like all the emotional ranges, the cracks in people's voices when they were screaming, it felt so raw and vulnerable and real. And then you mix it in with one of my favorite soundtracks in this past year, some of my favorites openings and endings I've ever heard. It's just like, it builds this atmosphere that makes you feel like you have this epic feeling just overwhelming you, while also feeling crushed with sorrow. Like, the amount of range and emotion from the sound direction with the music, and especially the voice actors, it's like absolutely top tier. And then backed by just stunning directing where you zoom into faces that just shock and awe you. Like, this anime really was a passion project 100%, and no one can deny that. This wasn't just some cash grab, not just like, oh yeah, it's a popular manga, let's adapt it. You don't have this team like Studio Wit who goes this into a material unless they truly love it. And that's one of my favorite reasons about Wit as a studio overall. Whether it be an original or whether it be a source material, like, whether you like it or not, it's always clear that there's passion behind the source material or the ideas that they're crafting, and that's why a product like Vinland Saga turned out the way it did, unlike what many probably thought it would turn out to be. Something like Berserk or something like that, where it just doesn't get the anime adaptation that people think it deserves. But Vinland Saga was like the saving grace of like, holy shit, maybe not all hope is lost. Maybe more anime like Vinland Saga will get their proper treatment in due time. What a fantastic anime, like, goddamn. What did everyone think, either for source material readers, anime originals like myself? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy, be sure to drop a like, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you have been new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.